Hey guys, I'm learning TFT and I'm sharing my learnings with you so that you can learn and I can learn better as well. In this video, I'm going to share with you a coaching session that I did with Bossoskills earlier today. It's a game where we dive into Star Guardians and specifically how to approach playing contested, especially if you're three or possibly four-way contested. In this patch, Star Guardians is extremely stable on stage 4, and so Basso makes the point that it matters less how many people are contesting you, but rather how many people can roll before you. And so in this game, it was, I believe, some econ portal where I thought I had enough gold, but what actually matters is the relative amount of gold you have compared to your contesters as opposed to the absolute amount of gold that you have. And in the case that you are significantly contested, you want to make sure that you roll down earlier, hopefully, if you have more gold, or at least at the same time. Because if your opponents pull your units out of the pool, it makes the average amount of gold it costs you to find one copy go up like exponentially. So, with that said, I hope you enjoy this coaching session with Vasa.
Okay. Honestly, like with Golden Edge, like you should at least land the bow.
I thought it doesn't count it during neutrals anymore.
Like Golden Edge? I thought Golden Edge was the only thing that still worked during neutrals.
Um, Pretty sure.
Oh,
Actually,
that I missed.
let me pull up the patch notes.
Alright. Was it dispatch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I missed
Golden
that.
Edge no
Okay.
longer works on
You're right, you're
PvE.
right.
None of these seem really great.
Yeah, I think I'm probably leaning too trick. Uh, but
And Worth the Wait just seems broken, right?
yeah, Worth Away is probably the best bulldog in the game.
Yeah. So from here, I was thinking I could just tempo the cannon into Star Guardian. I could go into Kog'Maw, or I could go into Sork. And I was having a hard time figuring out which way to go.
Yeah, so I mean it kind of depends on your opener and then what else happens, right? So like what in your opener here, what is it like your first thoughts on what you should be playing? Just like assume you don't get the cannon, right? Assume you get like generic, generic do nothing augment, like raining gold. Let's just say you have raining gold here. Like what are you thinking to play?
By default, I'm thinking slam Rageblade into Jinx. Or I could re-roll Zaya if like I hit a bunch of copies.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty close. And then like once you get the worth of weight, right? Or like once you get your augments, you kind of have to think about like how that affects the EV of the line that you're originally going to take, right? So in this case, like I would say worth the weight cannon probably negatively affects that line.
Yeah.
Um where like you don't really want to play tempo worth the weight cannons to Star Guardians. It can still be your highest EV line. It's just like now you want to play it less.
Yeah.
Um so like the lines that get higher EV are the ones that you kind of spoke about, right? Where like Sorks or Kog'Maw are kind of higher EV because you will have get a 3-star cannon in one of those. Um, I actually do think I would try to angle Cog here just because you can't play. I mean, your items cannot play Sorks. Your items in your opener can't play Sorks because you just really want to slam Rage. Is pretty much it. And so like
Yeah.
because you want to slam Rageblade, I'm angling towards Cog. Because Cog is also a much better Rageblade holder than Jinx. Like Jinx, I believe Rageblade is like Jinx true whisk in the stats. Because like she kind of has a built Rageblade with her Star Guardian.
Okay. If
So
if I wanted to go Sork, I could slam Nasher and then try to get Glove off Carousel for JG. But then I don't have like a good holder. So if I had like a Lucian too, then maybe I could go that route.
I mean if you're a Lucian too, this is like a home run sort of spot with a
Right.
Lucian too.
Okay.
But yeah, the problem is we have Narzaya. Like you can't really play into like A tier or B tier comps from openers that don't make any sense.
Right.
Right? You want to just be playing the A tier and B tier comps from the spots that are like the home run spots. Because that's just where you get yourself into a lot of trouble where you're just playing like A tier or B tier comps from really bad spots, and then all of a sudden they're like C tier comps.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like level and dropping out of golden age. Um,
Which would you take here?
I mean,
Stormbender?
these are all pretty bad to be honest. I would probably take Stormbender just because like I'm hyperactive edgelord, so or sorry, I'm Rage Blade edgelord, so I don't really feel like I more attack speed can be that good. Also, usually in like stage two, by the time you get takedowns, you're kind of winning the fight anyways. Like the fight's kind of over after you kill like the first unit because it's usually going to be like their stoneplate tank, right? So hyperactive is pretty low value in stage two.
Okay. Yeah, I need to remember this diminishing returns idea, and then also the point you made, where once you take down the frontliner, you kind of win anyway. Okay. Um.
I don't really like selling Garen to hold double Kobuko. Kobuko is pretty awkward for in terms of like board scaling.
Mhm.
Uh, right? Because it doesn't really fit with like any of the kind of themes you're going for. It would kind of just be like, oh, I'm playing a Kobuko 2 for a Kobuko 2. Um, I mean, that being said, like Garen also doesn't really fit. The main thing is like I think Kobuko 2 would pretty much just be a waste of money.
Okay.
Okay, I mean you end up selling it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
So that guy is going Cog, the first guy. He has Donkor. I guess that should not change. I guess before our discussion, I always thought that Cog was conditional, so I was not really actively thinking about Cog. Although I was considering it, and then on top of that, that other guy was playing Cog too.
Yeah, I mean it kind of depends on like what because it matters more if your front line's contested. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other thing that kind of matters is that like they'll kind of spike on the same times as you, which is not good. Right? So like specifically in this spot, it doesn't really matter that much that he's like contesting Cog with Encore. The thing that really would hurt you in this contest is his Cog board is just going to be stronger than yours. So like on the turns that you spike and the turns that like you're expecting to win rounds, if you kind of rotate into him when he's spiking, you'll just lose those rounds,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's kind of it's kind of an effect in reroll metas where like if you're playing the reroll meta and then you're playing like the two cost that's weakest on 3-2, and there's like a lot of good two cost rerolls, you're not really going to be happy in the game because like 3-2 is like the rounds where you want to win playing two cost reroll, right? So like when you're playing Kog'Maw, in the like in Scuttle Puddle here or like in any sort of Econ Galaxy, you'll probably be looking to win rounds starting on like 3-5, depending on how like rich or poor you are.
Yeah.
Right, like in Econ Galaxy, a lot of the times you're gonna 3-5 it, and so like if you 3-5 it, a lot of the benefit is if you hit your cog two, you're pretty much guaranteed to two streak into neutrals,
Mm-hmm.
right? But all of a sudden, this guy's playing Dawn for cog, so if you rotate into him, you're guaranteed to lose, right? Which is like so the main problems are like you're kind of contesting power spikes. You're contesting power spikes and you're contesting frontline are like the two things that you would care about.
Although he's
Not so much
playing.
contesting frog.
Yeah. Okay. So the fact that he is going to be stronger than me on the same line would deter me away from playing Kog'Maw more.
Yeah, but if he was also playing like unconditional cog, or if you had the better artifact in this case, which I mean you don't have an artifact, but like say you had Doncor and he had like Shiv, right? That would not really deter you at all because you would be stronger than him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
on these intervals, and then you that wouldn't really worry like how your HP needs to be kept, right? Because effectively you're going to need more of an HP buffer and more of a gold buffer to reach like the same spot you would normally need to. Because he will like effectively just be snapping your streak and taking an extra 10 HP from you anytime he plays into you that you normally wouldn't lose, right? Because in a normal game, like nobody's going to be strong enough on 3-5 or 3-6 to beat your Cogma board.
Right. Okay. If I was playing Kog'Maw in this game, I assume I would lean towards Protector given that I have the cannon.
Yeah, you would just play Protector Cog.
And would I be trying to make cannon 4 or no?
I think it would. I would hold until you get to like a certain point because a lot of times in protectors you won't hit the Cassante, so you'll probably be playing double cannon at some point in the game, like double cannon three. And then if you do hit the Cassante, you probably will reevaluate then, right? Based on like how much HP do I have? Do I need the gold to hit my Kog'Maw, etc.
Okay.
Uh, but I would go into it planning to hold cannons, right? As long as they're not super poor, which in this case you're not.
Right.
Because they did buff like how tanky cannon is.
Hmm. Okay. And then in this spot, I kind of have to decide whether I'm going to go Kog'Maw or Jinx. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
so
in the context of this game, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, you go ahead.
I mean, in the context of this game, I would just take LW and play Jinx.
Okay. LW over IE. Just get the shred out of the way first.
Well, it's like IE is just weaker on your board right now by like a pretty significant margin. Like
Uh,
generally, armor shred is a lot better the earlier in the game you make it. Um, or I shouldn't say it's a lot better, but it's like the one kind of shred that's better early game because you have a lot of auto attack damage on your board, right? Because like generally speaking, all of your units will deal some amount of auto attack damage. So like in stage two specifically, one of the reasons why Bramble is so broken is because even if your opponent is playing like an AP opener, like 40% of their board's damage is still going to be visible. Um, because of like their Malphite auto attacking and their Shen auto attacking and all of their units auto attacking. So like it as opposed to like Magic Shred, which can inherently be like worthless on some boards or not really do anything. Like the armor shred is really good. Also your Zai can't really crit. So IE is just like less efficient than Last Whisper as an item on your side right now.
okay. What about like if I had a Jinx?
Um if you had a Jinx, I would still go LW. I'm pretty sure Infinity Edge is not like a mandatory or an amazing Jinx item.
Okay. And then here, probably just a frontline stone plate.
Yeah, I think I like Stoneplate more than Moss. I believe Kennon's ability doesn't have HP scaling.
Okay.
I would actually have to check that again, but off the top of my head, I'm fairly certain Kennon's ability doesn't have HP scaling, so I like Stoneplate more because I think he has a flat heal. And so like Stoneplate's a lot stronger on your current board.
I think I am only one or two way contested, I believe, from when I was scouting. So if I'm more contested, placebo would be more likely, though, given that I already have worth the weight and I'm probably gonna sell cannons and it's econ portal, like extra gold is not necessarily great. None of these look really good.
Yeah, the thing is like I think Placebo is just your best option of the three.
Yeah.
Um, given the game state, ideally you would like to take combat here.
Yeah.
Because this is like a stage you would like to be strong with your 10 and 3. So like anything that kind of gives items or combat power is really good. But you're not taking Stand United.
I was reconsidering Kog'Maw again with the Pandora's Bench. Um, but I forgot that I slammed the IE, so I don't think that's an option.
Yeah, I think it's just fine.
Yeah. So then with climb, are you? How does that affect the level 8 analysis? Like, are you playing uh like 7-star Guardian without the RE?
Yeah, I think ideally I'm playing 7-star Guardian without the RE.
Okay.
If you don't hit Seraphine, I think a lot of the times, like in this sort of spot, you're actually going to be pretty healthy on 8. So you're going to be trying to like kind of roll the minimum and get to 9.
Yeah.
So a lot of times Ari will just end up being on your board just because you should be pretty healthy with this board. And yeah, it'll really just depend on your roll down. Like I'm kind of curious to see where you end up stopping on this 4-2 or 4-1.
Okay. Are you okay with me re-fruiting here? I'm on one streak and I'm playing like kind of the rest of this stage. Although to your point, like
Uh
it's really important to save the fruit as well, right? Although I don't have
yeah,
Chojin.
it's pretty hard. I think this decision is just pretty hard in general. I would say like I mean the obvious argument for refruiting is your anomaly sucks.
Yeah.
And you're just stuck on this anomaly forever. I think like the reason I don't really like refruiting here is there aren't exactly a lot of anomalies that you're like are a huge upgrade.
Hmm.
Generally like when you have Zaya, the main like when you're playing Zaya reroll, a lot of the anomalies, or like when you have like the Rageblade Kraken build, a lot of the anomalies that are actually good are like Desperado and Kahuna Kahuna, but
Hmm.
you don't really have like the AD to make those good, right? Because you're Rageblade naive, and they both scale off of attack damage.
Yeah.
So like the question I would have is like, what are you actually looking for here?
I think
That you're
probably
kind of
Sky Piercer and Bludgeoner.
yeah. I mean, I would just say that's I don't I'm not really sure that they're strong enough to warrant this refreeze.
Okay.
Um, that I think that's my opinion on it, and this is also just again a comp that really needs like the specific boots. Um, although like in this game, you probably will not have items for best defense anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So it's heavily dependent on whether my items support the optimal fruits.
Yeah, I would say in this game like it's not that egregious because you don't have like the setup.
Right.
Okay, I like
Okay.
LW here. But like if you were playing like Trojan with like Val Crown Guard frontline, this would be like a really bad.
Okay. So that got two guys already have jinxes. I was thinking I'm poorer than them, so I just gotta pray that they miss and wait until 4-2. Or did I
Yeah, I
send it
mean,
here? I'm actually not sure if I sent it
well,
here.
if they already rolled, right? I can sorry, can you slow down can you slow down look at the rolls again? It's like this guy already rolled all his gold anyways, right?
Yeah.
He had a poppy too, so he's probably not rolling anymore.
Uh-huh.
So like if you roll now versus 4-2, there's gonna be the same amount of units gone from this guy. Um, so like once you get to this point, you definitely can't roll, right? You just have to pray you hit it. Right? The only option that would have allowed you to roll is if you were rolling like with him or before him. If you can't 4-1 after somebody, that's you're just gonna lose the game.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, like you didn't really have the option to roll before him or with him, so I agree that you probably have to just wait. I do think this might be like a bit of a like I think you probably misjudged the amount of players playing Star Guardians.
Mhm.
Or like who had like the spots before, because the number of people playing Star Guardians doesn't matter as much as like the number of people who can roll for Star Guardians before you.
Right.
Um, right, because it's like it just so happens the two guys playing Star Guardians. I mean, one of them probably high rolled if they both have a Poppy too. Like it just so happens that they both just sent straight to zero on like neutrals into 4-1, and so now you're playing the game with like a lot of your units out of the pool. So
Yeah.
like this probably goes back to your 3-2 augment. Like when we were first talking about it,
Oh
you
yeah.
actually said that like because it's Econ Galaxy and all that, you don't need gold. But like as it turns out, this game you actually would have really needed placebo because you
Yeah.
you really want to be in a spot where you can just send it on neutrals here. Um, and that's kind of just like an effect of I guess like not being there's it gold is not like an absolute thing, right? It's just your gold relative to the people. Like assuming you can all 4-2, whoever has more gold than the other people just has the option to roll earlier,
Hmm.
right? And you just don't have that option because you don't have enough gold to do so. Even though like in a vacuum, right, you definitely have plenty of gold for 4-2. It's just due to like this lobby context, you would have actually needed to take placebo here over a strong combat just because you need to just be rolling to zero on 3-7, like with these guys or before these guys, so that you have a chance to play the game. Um, and like generally, this lobby dynamic will just happen when there's like one comp that just has a really high play rate, right? It
Yeah.
was kind of similar with Socialite Rise a few patches ago, where um, like you could never really have too many econ augments because
Hmm.
you would always be in the spot where there's just like 4 people, 5 people playing Rise, and you need to be the guy. You need to be one of the guys who's rolling to zero on 3-7, and not one of the guys who's on 4-2 praying that there's Rise left in the pool.
Okay.
Um, but I think that's probably where this game kind of goes wrong. I mean, we haven't even seen the roll down yet, but like your spot is really bad.
Yeah. Okay. So this also reminds me of what was it like 3 sets ago that there was that one Callista meta, Callista and Rakan
Oh
meta
yeah,
where
very cool stuff.
yeah, where everyone like it was like 5 or 6 players I feel like in the lobby trying to angle that. So it's literally like double econ augment going into like 3-7.
Yeah, I mean, you would just it was literally just whoever has the most econ augments has the best chance to play the game.
Hmm.
Um, because like you can't play the game. And the other thing I would say about Star Guardians is it Star Guardians is definitely lower in power than like those comps were. So you're
Right.
like the thing about Fairy Callisto was you didn't actually need like 2 stars. Like you were happy if you hit 2 stars, but you were really stable on like 1 stars. I don't think Star Guardians are nearly as stable on 1 stars. Um, but like your two options would be in this game, for example, if you had keepers to one or like a really strong Star Guardian combat, you could probably get away with taking Prime and being happy playing like on a 1 star board because your combats are so strong. But because you're essentially like taking the first econ augment that doesn't really it doesn't really benefit your board, like your Star Guardian board power level on 1 stars with Climb the Ladder is not going to be good enough to
Right.
so you kind of have to be on like one of the extremes, right? You have to be the guy who's clicking double econ and just sending on 3-7, or you have to be the guy that's clicking double combat and like praying they hit 1 star copy of their board and then they're stable on the 1 star copies because they have the double combat. So I think this is probably like it's either a lobby recognition issue or it's kind of like a misunderstanding of like the goal, like the value of gold, right? Where it's like your gold is going to be like 30% as efficient as it normally would be because there's 2 guys with poppy twos out of the pool.
Right. Okay. I think I was thinking too much in absolutes as like, oh, I have econ portal, I have econ augment. But I think what I'm hearing from you is the absolute amount of gold matters less than the relative amount of gold compared to the people that might contest me because it is the relative amount of gold that lets me roll earlier or at least at the same time as them.
Yeah, pretty much. Just because, yeah, it's basically that because again, like if you roll and there's 3 poppies in the or 4 poppies in the pool versus 10 poppies in the pool, right? Your gold is 40. You're getting 40% value out of your gold, right? If you want to think about it that way. So
Yeah.
if you take placebo, it allows you to roll like 40 gold on neutrals or like 30 gold on neutrals, but uh that's more efficient than rolling 80 gold on 4-2 after there's 6 poppies out of the pool.
Right. And let's say in this game, if I had, I guess I was not actively scouting enough at 3-6, and maybe I was, and I just I guess in this spot, had I known for sure that they were rolling on 3-7 with this amount of gold, would you have just sent it anyway with them?
Yeah, I would have. I mean, I think you have more gold than you think here because you have
Yeah.
Shensu Ken on your board, and you have like Mundo Jace on your bench, which are kind of
Yeah.
worthless. So um, you actually have like, I mean, with placebo here, you would probably have like 45 or so gold. Obviously, you've seen a lot of your orbs, so like you would have had less than that when you start to roll down. Um, but yeah, I definitely would have rolled probably straight to zero, knowing that I'm in like a three-way contest.
Okay. Yeah. I think at this point, I was just looking for what you call it, reinforcement.
Yeah, it's just like if you miss reinforcement, you okay.
And then I assume we're prioritizing. Are we taking either Poppy or Jinx, or are we
Uh,
prioritizing Jinx?
well, it's kind of I think you're taking either. It's a little bit awkward because the thing is you're never gonna hit a Poppy 2 if you don't reinforce it. 'Cause that's what the two other guys hit.
Yeah.
But you kind of need to hit the Jinx in order to like play. I think I would prioritize Jinx here.
But are you skipping
Even
a
as
Poppy
shitty as that
to hit a
feels.
Jinx?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I think I would skip.
Okay.
I think I would skip a Poppy to hit a Jinx. Okay. And realistically, that wouldn't really happen that much because again, there's you should insta stop as soon as you hit this Jinx. Uh,
Okay.
I think the rolling is a little bit grief because again, like you're in a spot where there's six poppies out that are not
Yeah.
yours. Um, so like your rolls are really inefficient here. You're pretty much just rolling for like Nico 2 and Rel 2 are like your the realistic pairs you can hit. Um, which I
Right.
don't really think you need because you can just play it like you can just play the random cannon through on your board
Okay.
for now and go
Um,
nine.
I don't know why I kept on refruiting. Am I still looking for gather here, or like I realized after I was refruiting that like normally it'd be Sky Piercer if I don't have Shojin, but I already have the LW.
Yeah, I mean I think you're looking for Gather here. Your build has
Okay.
no AD. And Rage Bait is just like a shitty Trojan basically. I mean the other thing is you kind of have to just recruit because all your options are horrible.
Yeah.
Like you just have like a lot of terrible options. Here I would probably still go Sky Piercer. Because yeah, okay. Because
And
you kind of
then
have to.
I think I messed up on my itemization here. I assume I am trying to read the tier for Shojin.
Uh I don't think you need to greed the tier for Trojan necessarily because you don't have Gather and you're only gonna have one fruit. Um but I probably wouldn't slam Arc because I think if anything I would greed the tier for like blue, operating
Okay.
under the assumption that I think blue is better on Seraphine.
Yeah.
If adaptive is actually just like a better item in Star Guardian Seraphine, then I would probably greed for like a better frontline item for like Vow with the tier. Um, like Vow and then move adaptive to backline Seraphine.
Okay. And then given that I did slam the Archangel, I probably shouldn't have sold the RE2.
Yeah, you once you slam the Archangel, like your army is just gonna hold the items until you get to Seraphine.
Yeah.
And you definitely can't be playing Archangel Bears.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very uh I think this nine is pretty illegal.
Okay, so given that there were two players that already hit Poppy twos, um, like
Yeah,
like,
so
mhm.
sorry, I'll ask you like how do you know what's your average placement in this spot?
Like 7-0.
Right, I think it's probably a little better than that. I would say it's probably like a 5.5 or 6. Uh, but like how do you like the way you actually get placements this game, like don't just go dead eight, is you need to hit Seraphine 2. And I don't think it's that unrealistic to hit Seraphine 2 this game, or like that's kind of your out. Like there's definitely a lower than 50% chance you hit Seraphine 2, but once you level here, there's a 0% chance you're hitting Seraphine 2 this game. Like it's just completely out of the question because you go straight to 0 gold to play. I mean, what do you play? I would assume you play Shen here, but like you're just never gonna get to Seraphine from a spot. Um, and like
Or
you have 53 HP, your board is not like I would I would kind of hope that my board can win one of these fights. And I feel like it wouldn't be that crazy for my board as is to win one of these fights. Um, and it's just at like a very low value level. You almost never want to just be like leveling and going straight to 0 gold. Uh, like at 50. This is like leveling when you have 0 gold left after the level is like it either has to be a really big spike or B like you're just dead. Um, and I think you might be like over indexing into just dead here, where I don't think you're as dead as you expect. Like I would just play my strongest board here, which is just Shadow Reverse, and then like Archangel by Nico.
and
Um,
over
and
Varus.
just sit
Okay,
for 2 turns.
I see.
Because like I mean, even if you're really unlikely to hit Seraphine 2, that's pretty much your only out, right? Like there's no I don't think there's another way forward that you can kind of play this game. Like your outs is like hitting a Seraphine 2 or like hitting a Zyra 2 or hitting some sort of 2-star legendary because you can't like hit you can't hit the Poppy, like you have bad Jinx items, you have bad Jinx anomaly. Um and so like your game is kind of just screwed, right? So you're just trying to figure out how do I not get screwed.
Yeah, I
And
think in my mind
I
it
think
was less so that I was trying to go for Seraphine 2 and more so that I just want to figure out how to get strongest board now so I could preserve HP, which is just throw an extra unit on the board.
yeah, I mean I think the problem with that is like your extra unit in this case is a Varus one with or two sniper. Um, so like I just don't think it's very strong. Or like I don't think the difference is very big, right? So like if you're scouting and you think like you're just getting shit on every single fight, like the Varus one is not going to make a difference, right? Like the only time I could see this is if you scout and like your three matchups all look kind of close. You're like I can win all three of these matchups,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like because your spot is kind of screwed as we discussed, like if this level like makes your basically guarantees or like in your head gives you a lot better chance to win like these matchups that you think are kind of 50-50 or you think are like 60-40, that's where I could see it, right? Where it's like it makes a meaningful difference in a lot of these matchups. But I mean, I would assume looking at our board, like most of our matchups are going to be like we're playing some guy who's playing like 2-star 3-cost reroll and their board is terrible and we can win, or it's Scuttle Puddle and this guy hit their entire board and they have a really good setup and we just lose.
Okay.
That's what I would that's usually like how like when you have this kind of board, that's usually how the fights categorize. Um, so like to level here, you really need to have like a good reason to do so.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, because this level is essentially like minus 15 gold, like
Right.
16, but it's probably more than minus 15 gold by the time you get to 6-1 or 5-1.
Okay.
Um,
That makes sense. So actually, I did scout there, right? Slow down. Okay, I guess I
okay,
beat this guy
so
anyway, or it's like pretty
I
neutral.
think you lose. I think you lose to this guy
Lose to
anyways,
this guy.
but
Okay, this
I
guy's
think you beat this guy anyways.
lose to this.
I think you lose to this guy anyways.
Okay.
That's how I would categorize this. Maybe this makes a difference in like the crew fights. Uh, but that's how I kind of see it. Like you lose. I mean, we're fighting this guy, so I guess we can see. But I would assume you just lose to this guy no matter what.
Yeah, and it should have been Shen over the, or I guess I needed to sell the Shen. I guess it should have been Cassante over the. Um, why am I blanking on her name? Syndra?
Yeah, sorry, it should have been Cassante over the Syndra, or Shen over the Cassante. I mean, it definitely would have been Shen over the Cassante. I probably would have sold the Cassante, just because I would be under the assumption that I can't hit Cassante too, and like I don't really have the goal to kind of play for Cassante too because it's not actually that good on my board.
Yeah,
Um, and then it's definitely not strongest because like you had the 10 and 3 already for Protector, so
right.
it's basically like a two rate Cassante.
So you'd be holding the Zyras to, if I hit Zyra 2, then I'd be playing that over Zaya.
I mean, I wouldn't be holding the Zyros anymore because you just don't have gold to,
Okay.
right? Or it's like you need I mean, you need to hit like the Poppy 2 or like one Seraphine or the Varus 2 at this point, or like you don't have enough gold to hold like all of your apps,
Hmm.
right? So you just have to kind of delegate your goal to what is more likely to hit, or like what's stronger if you hit, right? And I would say like one Seraphine is a bigger spike to your board than a Zyra 2, and then like you have the Varus pair, and you so I would just hold the like keep the Varus pair, right? Unless you get like a triple Zyra shot.
Okay. And then here, given that I have Archangel, do we play Seraphine Syndra over, just give up on the Varus and take out the
I mean, you have the Varus too, so I would not give up on the Varus because I think it's our only way of not like going seventh or eighth here is that like your Varus kills a lot of units.
okay.
I mean, first, it's definitely sell. I would sell Braum, and then I would probably just sell the Cassante. Um, yeah, I think I would probably sell the Cassante as well as the Braum because you're between sell. I think the thing you're between is like sell Cassante or sell Zaya. I don't really think like any of the other options make very much sense because you want to play like Seraphine Syndra.
Yeah.
So it's drop Braum, and then I think I personally would drop Cassante, but I think some people would probably drop Zaya here. So drop Rom, drop Casante for Seraphine Syndra, and then buy the rest too.
Okay. And then does the fact that I've climbed the ladder like make me want to play Zaya more probably?
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, I mean it definitely does. I think the main thing is just like Casante one is not that good.
Okay.
It's pretty much like my main reasoning. Like the unit with the second HP bar. Oh, and then we don't get the
Yeah, I didn't get the Syndra in time. Well, also from an itemization standpoint, do do we try to itemize Syndra first, or is it just itemize or Varus?
Varus. I would definitely itemize Varus. I think like given your state, I would consider just
Reforge?
reforging the Archangel.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I would reforge Archangel plus Chain probably here. Um, like given we assuming we have infinite time to do this turn, right?
Yeah.
We had the time to do this turn. I would reforge Archangel plus Chain, and then this sword always wants to be Shogun off this anvil. If you don't
Mhm.
get Shogun here, like you're just really sad. Um, but ideally it would just be like Shogun Deathblade plus we find a third Varus item somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, this fight should have been winnable if I had Syndra and
Yeah, I mean this is just probably thought too probably was just thinking too long on
I should have refruited first before I do this.
yeah, you definitely should refruit. This is like really, really bad if you don't get gather. Because
Oh,
you like
yeah.
your Varus is not going to cast. Like your Varus cast is going to be very late, let's say. Um, yeah, so I think your itemization is kind of weird in this comp as well. Generally speaking, I don't think IE or Rageblade are like good Jinx items. Like they're like fine Jinx items, but they're not good, if that makes sense. Um, I know Rage Blade is for sure terrible. When I mean in this game you didn't really have a choice, so like obviously you have to make a Rage Blade on your board. Sometimes you're just not really happy about it later.
Hmm.
Um, and then like IE when you don't have Gather is just not amazing. I think a lot of the IE stats. So the weird thing about the Jinx stats is a lot of it changes based on like anomalies. So if you go back to like last patch stats, for example, um, like I okay, I when in tactics, when I remember when I was checking, I actually looked terrible. I think uh, which I don't. Yeah, I mean basically the point I was going to try to make, which it doesn't look like is supported by these stats, is that like last patch when I was checking the stats, Trojan and IE looked horrendous on Jinx. That was because like people were like didn't know about Gather, right?
Mm.
So like obviously like the only build people that looked good in the stats was like Kraken GS Legend Knights. Um and then like the other kind of items came back. Like IE got a little bit better and then Trojan got a little bit better when like people discovered Gather. Uh so like my theory or like the point that I was going to try to make is that i.e. Shoujin is kind of like a Gather force field, right? Where like if you don't have Gather, you still prefer to be like in the, you know, have like the Kraken GS red buff or like Kraken GS, um, some sort of build along those lines. But
Okay.
it's kind of just like the way your items work together is not very good because your Jinx has no AT.
Right.
Um, so like if you're remaking these items, right? Like given that you don't have Gather, like I would heavily prefer like
DB
okay,
here.
Rage Blade Jinx is not good, but I would Rage Blade my Jinx because Rage Blade Varus is really, really not good. Right.
Okay.
So I would prefer like Rage Blade DB plus I mean ideally it would be whatever you reforge Archangel into.
Uh-huh.
But since like we're just working with these items, right, I would probably go last Whisper on my Jinx. Or I'd probably go last Whisper on my Jinx because I think like Spell Crit's more important on my Varus. Um But like the main thing is that like the Shojin IE thing is kind of like the caster Jinx build, which is really good when you have Gather and is not really good when you don't have Gather.
Okay.
Um, that's kind of going to be my theory. Obviously, like you looked at the stats and the stats don't really support that, but I would argue that it's very hard to parse the stats now that people kind of understand what the anomalies do.
Hmm.
But again, I don't think I think like the way you choose to put your items on is just a little bit awkward here, right? Where it's like Children Jinx is for sure bad if you don't have Gather. Or I guess actually maybe it's not even for sure bad because of the bug. Ah,
Although we don't know
and
if the
maybe you should
bug's
just itemize
fixed
for
or
the
not,
bug
right?
then. Yeah, it's just kind of a pain in the a lot of these things are just a pain in the ass because there's just no transparency about what's actually still in the game and what's not. So like it's really hard to draw statistical conclusions about anything because you don't know what's in the game
Yeah.
and what's not in the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I guess I can't really harp that much on the items because I'm like I can't confidently tell you that it's in the game or it's not in the game. But yeah, generally speaking, assuming there's no like bug and everything's working properly, like Shojin, ideally you would have like some sort of like auto attacker, like your auto attacking items would be on Jinx and your caster items would be on Varus.
Right.
Um,
And so I
but
should
I
for
I
sure
guess
be
like
refruiting before I make this itemization decision.
yeah, exactly, right? Like this itemization is completely fine if you have Gather,
Right.
right? Like IE Shojin, good if you have Gather. Um, and my theory was that it wasn't good without Gather, but it's really like it's really hard to find the stats to back that up.
Yeah.
So but yeah, like
Okay.
it's definitely recruits, and then like once you're kind of staying on like Sky Piercer, Sky Piercer as your fruits, like I would really prefer to just have like the cast items on Varus.
Okay.
But I do think like the main issue that happened this game was probably just like not realizing that your spot needed to just be like click all the econ augments and pray. Um,
Hmm.
pretty much.
And I should have
Which
sent it on
honestly,
3-7 anyways, even if I didn't click the econ augment on 3-2.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like one of those awkward spots where like your game just feels really, really kind of doomed because like it feels like a lot of people are pivoting into like the only line that you can play.
Right.
Um, which like I guess ideally on 2-1 you would be able to figure out how many people are playing Star Guardians, but it's kind of impossible to tell. So
Yeah, it's like almost
I
like anybody can pivot into Star Guardians.
yeah, exactly. So I think like if somehow you had like the foresight to see that like a bunch of these guys were like just playing Star Guardians, maybe it would be a spot where you actually just like stack for carousel and then try and play swords with like Natural's JG. But
Right.
I don't think that foresight is very realistic, to be honest. I think like this is probably your best line. And then we just needed to take like placebo and just roll on 3-7.
Okay. And if I had more time here, I probably should. Well, I for sure should have refruited this, but if I had more time, I should do that whole bench, like all the Star Guardians thing. Um,
Yeah, if you have infinite time here, it's like bench all the Star Guardians, refruit the Jinx, like that way you can see Star Sailor. Um, and then if you miss Gather here, then you're probably going like uh, Rageblade, Deathblade, Lost Whisper, and then Shojin, i.e. Varus.
yeah,
Then I would probably go Mogs on my Poppy, even though like Mogs is statistically Seraphine's best like damage item.
yeah,
I would go Mogs Poppy here because I think adaptive on your Poppy build feels really bad on like 1-star Poppy. Um, like Poppy is really good with HP items as well.
right.
Uh,
Okay.
so I, I
So,
would I would prefer Mogs frontline and like adaptive frontlines generally a pretty weak like tank item.
or would you even just put Mogs over Sunfire, move Sunfire over to Nico to just have more frontline, or are you moving the adaptive um, to Seraphine?
I would move adaptive to my Seraphine. I think yeah, I think like I like having mana gens since I have the Archangels. In the theoretical world where we reforge Archangels, I prefer move Sunfire to Nico.
Okay. And then big picture
Um,
wise, also, if the other guy was not going cog with artifact, this should have been a cog game.
yeah, this should have probably been a COD game. Yeah, it's just really hard to contest like the guys who, yeah, it's hard to contest the people who again like contest your frontline or contest your power spikes.
Right. Or even
It's
if that
kind of
guy
the
was cog without artifacts, it still would have been a cog game, from what I understand.
yeah. I think if he's COD without artifact, you can play COG into him.
Okay.
Um, I think ideally you wouldn't want to play just like off of purely nothing. It kind of just depends on how your items worked out. But the way your items worked out this game, I think I would uh I would be pretty happy with playing COG. It's kind of like a similar concept to people understand this a lot more intuitively when it's like you see someone playing like their fortune traits and they're like on 10 loss or whatever. You really do not want to be the guy with like the second most HP who's also mood streaking and you're gonna send on 3-7 because he will power spike at the same time, right? Like the fortune guy will pass on 3-7 and then have a stronger board than you and just kill you.
Right.
It's kind of like a similar it's basically the same effect with like the reroll comps where you don't want to be the guy who's like spiking at the same time and then losing the rounds that you
Hmm.
would need to win, right?
Yeah.
Like if you were playing Kaisa and you're the weaker Kaisa guy, it's that kind of similar effect on like when Kaisa was good, where like the other guy just snowballs and goes first, and then you're like hanging on for a sixth.
Right. Or like back in the day when there were two or three cruel pack players.
Yeah, exactly. Like the weaker guy always like the weaker guy contesting like these spike intervals always ends up getting screwed.
Yeah.
So like that's the spot you don't want to be in. And then like obviously like you'll just have some games where you have to take that spot, right? Or you have to be the third Star Guardian guy with no econ and like it is what it is, but like this is just not one of them, right?
Yeah.
Where it should have just been like, oh shit, like I have to play Star Guardians, the entire lobby's playing Star Guardians. I'm just gonna click double econ and we're all gonna send our prayer roll down on 3-7. And whoever hits the most will top two this lobby and then hopefully I hit enough to go fourth if I low.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. This is
Uh,
helpful.
yeah.
Appreciate the help. Yeah, I think if I can make the second cup, then maybe I'll ping you again. All
All right, sounds good. Just let
right,
me know if that happens, and then talk to you some other time.
sounds good.
Take
Talk to
care.
you later. Bye.